What if James Cameron had directed Jurassic Park, the movie? Now, the question behind that is what if Jurassic Park was rated R as opposed to what it was back in 1993? Now, I think a lot of us, and if you read on the internet, the general consensus is that if Jurassic Park had been rated R and done by James Cameron, it would have been darker. There would have been a lot more slashing, would have been a lot more tearing, people getting torn to shreds. Just would have been plain darker. Think Aliens. I think that's the best way to describe it. Aliens is a very dark movie. There's always dark corners, people going down dark hallways, dark tunnels, and there's just things popping out all over. So I think if we look at Aliens, we can kind of get an idea of what a rated R James Cameron Jurassic Park would have looked like. But I think the bigger question to me would have been if Cameron had in fact secured the film rights over Spielberg, would he have used CGI as opposed to stop motion? That's the real big question. And we'll never know, but it's interesting to sit back and ponder that because that's really, at the end of the day, along with the acting, that's really what made Jurassic Park believable was the realistic dinosaurs, the CGI, the use of practical and CGI. But would James Cameron have abandoned stop motion entirely and used CGI? We'll never know, but nonetheless, this is an interesting video. I've wanted to make it for quite some time. As always, I really hope you'll chime in with your thoughts. Now, if you think about a rated R James Cameron Jurassic Park, there's so many scenes from the book that I would have loved to have seen in the movie that did not get into the movie. Spielberg decided to take more of a family-friendly approach. Even though there's definitely plenty of slashing scenes in Jurassic Park the movie, Spielberg decided to make a movie for not only kids but the kid in us all. So that's kind of the difference between Cameron. I think Cameron's would have been dark and Spielberg's is for everybody. Now, I do have to admit that if I think James Cameron made Jurassic Park, I don't think it would have been as financially successful, and it would not have had anywhere near the scope and the reach that Jurassic Park has had. Think about Terminator. I love Terminator, the first movie. It's phenomenal. The second one's great, but the first one I love even more. Aliens, movies like that. Those are big science fiction movies, but those are not necessarily movies that everybody has seen. Everybody's seen Jurassic Park and everybody has heard of Jurassic Park. So right there, the scope of how big Jurassic Park is just monumental. And I don't think a James Cameron Jurassic Park would have been as big as a Steven Spielberg Jurassic Park. So right off the bat, I believe we can say that with certainty. Now, back to the novel and some of the darker parts. If you read Jurassic Park, the novel, it's a very dark, gory novel. That's why I love it. That's why it's my favorite book of all time. And that's why I've read it 4 times. And I've probably listened to the audiobook about 4 times as well. I'm probably going to make another go in this next year. So, but the point is that the book is very dark. And I believe if Cameron had directed Jurassic Park, he would have taken that darkness. We would have seen Dennis Nedry getting slashed and ripped wide open. We would have seen his head in the jaws of the adult Dilophosaurus, not juvenile. We would have seen Ed Regis being tackled to the ground by the juvenile Tyrannosaur. We would have seen Gennaro and Muldoon in the Jeep picking up Dennis Nedry's leg and seeing just a bloated version of him. We would have just seen a lot more darkness. And I'll be honest, as I sit back and think about it, I really hope that somebody one day takes a chance and adapts Michael Crichton's book straight up, page by page, straight up, and makes it into maybe like a Netflix series. I think that's what we've all been hoping for. But nonetheless, back to this idea of James Cameron, rated R, Jurassic Park. I think it would have been darker. I think that's obvious to say. Now, a lot of these scenes, I do believe if Cameron had done the movie, believe we would have seen these scenes. I think we would have seen Dennis Nedry getting torn open. I think we would have seen Ed Regis being taken down by the juvenile Tyrannosaur. We would have seen all of those scenes. That is one of the reasons why the book is just so great. Jurassic Park, the movie, is my favorite movie of all time, and Jurassic Park, the novel, is my favorite book of all time. But if I had to choose which one I liked better, even though it's a difficult decision, I would choose the book just because the detail and just because the dinosaurs are so mean and so ferocious, and they're to be revered, and you're really frightened by these animals. Crichton's dinosaurs are truly terrifying, like the blurb says on the back of the book. So Nonetheless, I'm hoping you'll take some time at the end of this video to chime in with your thoughts on this, what you think a rated R Jurassic Park version would have looked like. Now, if I have to pick the one scene that I really wish we could have seen in Jurassic Park, it would be Ed Regis being tackled to the ground by the juvenile Tyrannosaur. And the Dennis Nedry scene comes in at close second. The only reason why I would choose Ed Regis with the juvenile Tyrannosaur over Dennis Nedry is that we did get Dennis Nedry and he got killed by the juvenile. Now, we did not get Ed Regis at all. In fact, he is not in the movie at all. So that's a main difference between the book and the movie. Ed Regis does not make an appearance in the movie. But nonetheless, my top scene that I would have loved to have seen is Ed Regis waking up cold, shivering. He's a coward behind the rock. He's got that leech sucking on his chin or lip, I believe. I believe it's his lip, sucking blood, fat with blood. Is his blood is gory, and he finally crawls out, makes his way through the forest, and he starts to hear some things. And that's when the juvenile Tyrannosaur kind of plays with him at first, and then eventually pounces. And Dr. Grant sees the head lift up and ragged flesh in its jaws. That would be the scene that I wish we could have seen. And if James Cameron had done Jurassic Park, that would have been the scene that I would have looked most forward to seeing. So nonetheless, to the most important part of this video, your comments. What would your most important scene that you would want to see in James Cameron's rated R Jurassic Park? Thanks for all the support. See you guys in the next video. Take care.